Chapter 9. The Belmont Plaza Olympic Swimming Facility, located between Ocean Boulevard and the Long Beach Harbor, was torn down due to its failure to comply with earthquake safety codes. Its cement columns, smooth stone walls, and tall glass windows were replaced by a semi-permanent outdoor pool and a chain-link fence next to a beach where only dogs would swim. Accompanying the changes to the area was a freshly paved lot that now played host to lone car smokers, sleepers, and horizon starers. The once impressive Olympic swimming facility also had some of the best cement flat ground and ledges that could be found in the western United States. The quality of the cement was second to none, mainly because the building and the trees planted along its northern side only allowed direct rays from the sun for a few hours a day, keeping the cement shaded, cool, and slick. The architects had not intended for the exterior of the structure to produce the same levels of world-class performance as its interior, but skateboarders proceeded to utilize the smooth cement benches anyway. The 3 cement benches in the shade allowed legends of the 1990s to document some of the most iconic technical ledge work of the era. The Belmont benches were well known to skaters around the world, and because of the timelessness of the skateboarding that was done there, they'd continue to be discussed and referenced despite the entire structure's demolition. One of Hector's residency requirements stipulated a location visit with a director, so he invited Wonder Scott to meet him at the parking lot where the unsafe structure once stood. It felt like one of the first long-lit days of summer. Chromefoot's dashboard clock read 6:30 p.m. The freeway traffic to Long Beach was hot, and it moved fast. He was relieved to see that he would be ahead of schedule, but when he arrived, Wonder Scott was already there, seated on a fold-out chair under a beach umbrella. Her vintage French vanilla Mercedes was parked behind her in one of the lot's nearly 700 spaces, most of which were vacant. She waved to Hector as he put Chromefoot in a park a few spaces away. Beyond the bike path and sand, cargo ships rested in the harbor, taking on the first colors of the sunset. To Hector, the ships always felt close enough to swim to. As he shut the door, Wonder smiled and gestured to a gathering of skateboarders over her shoulder in the distance. "Looks like some of your friends are already here to join us." "Just wait another hour or so and there will be twice as many," Hector smiled as he reached to shake her hand. "Skating by the water at dusk is as close as I can get to heaven," he said as Wonder raised her chin with an unconvinced expression. She wore a yellow baseball hat with an orange flowing dress and her pointy sunglasses. "So what are they all doing down there?" she asked. "They're skating the curbs and the cement islands. This place has an exceptional amount of curbs and islands. Most of all, though, this place has space." "And this is why we're here?" "Partly," Hector said, looking up with a smile. The blacktop pavement and numbered parking spaces stretched along the sand at the length of a football field. Cars peppered the lot with some additional color, but it was consistently empty on weekdays. "You picked a hell of a location for this exercise, Hector," Wonder said as she removed her sunglasses. "But I'm not complaining. The beach breeze alone was worth the drive." "Okay, good. I wasn't sure what you'd think when you got here," he replied. "I will admit this place sounded more exciting when you described it," she chuckled. "Hey, never underestimate the beauty of an empty parking lot," Hector remarked with a mix of humor and reverence. He then presented a black and white printed photo of the demolished swimming stadium before holding it up in the direction of where the Olympic facility once stood. "It's so absolutely sad it's gone now," she replied, looking at the photo. "Now what is it that I need to know about this place?" Hector shrugged as he lowered the 8.5 by 11 printout. "Well," he paused, "it's a story of adaptability," he answered. "How so, Hector?" she asked, digging in her purse for a cigarette. Hector folded the printout into a more manageable size as they began walking in the direction of the chain-link fence surrounding the outdoor pool. The indoor swimming structure was built in 1967 for Olympic qualifying events. After a few decades of competitions taking place at the indoor pool, there were skateboarders adopting the building's exterior features as a place of sport and performance. They did this even though it was illegal to skate on the premises. They risked police apprehension and citations just to enjoy the unique set of features it had to offer. And then it was torn down. "So now what?" she said, taking a matter-of-fact drag of her cigarette. "The building was torn down, and this repaved parking lot was part of its replacement. As you can see, now at the present, this parking lot, in its own way, has become a space that's primarily utilized by skateboarders." So let me try here. She stopped a moment to allow a smile. It's about skateboarders interpreting urban spaces and adapting to them. In this case, the first opportunity was presented by an architectural structure built for Olympic aquatics, Wonder said before going on. And with the demolition of the building and the spaces surrounding it arrives another opportunity for adaptation with the new architecture, a parking lot, which is what we're seeing here now. This new generation of skateboarders is utilizing, essentially, the same location of the fallen pool structure to interpret a whole new set of curbs and things to play on. And that's why you're the director, Hector replied with a louder delivery. Don't sleep, I'm good at this, she said, nodding in the direction of the skaters in the distance. Hector heard the roar of urethane wheels approaching and turned around to see Fams pushing in their direction in a nylon hat and Lakers jersey. And here's Fams, a few minutes early as usual, Hector announced as he held his hand above his forehead to block the sun. So this fellow is actually your friend, Wonder said with a half-confirming delivery. Yeah, one of my best and oldest. He lives just a few blocks up the hill from here. Fams popped his board from his right foot to his left hand. Hello, Wonder, I'm Fams. Good to meet you. Likewise, Fams, it's a pleasure to meet you, she said, holding her cigarette away from their meeting. Any best friend of Hector's has got to be one of the best in the game, she stated with a smile as Fams gave Hector a hug. But can you tell me something, Fams? She began to ask before going on. When I read Hector's work, I can understand the architectural observations, which are impressive to say the least. So can you tell me from a skateboarder's perspective, perhaps, what it is that's so exciting about a parking lot like this? Why is this relevant architecture for skateboarders to interpret? Fams paused to survey their surroundings. He scanned the beach and could see dogs frolicking in the sand beyond the volleyball courts. Well, I think the best way I can put it for this parking lot, and pretty much any other place skaters find inspiring, would be something like this. I have a dog and a cat at home, right? Okay, she nodded with growing interest. And for whatever reason, my daughters and I play music around the house with our pets in mind, as if they have a preference. Sometimes we'll put on something very specific, because we think they'll like it. But you know cats and dogs don't respond to music, right? Hector asked, half joking. Just give me a second, Hector, Fam smiled. That's exactly right, though. They don't hear any music the way we do at all. Even though my music is one of the most beautifulest things in my life, for them it's not even there. It's useless. So that's a bit like how I see it for skateboarders. For us, there's endless potential in this parking lot, and every other place we go. Everywhere we go, we hear music, while the rest of us are just cats and dogs, Wonder chuckled. It could be worse, Fams laughed. I like him, Hector, Wonder smiled. May I have one of those with you? Fams gestured at the cigarette in Wonder's hand. Absolutely, Fams. Also, thanks for allowing me to put you on the spot like that. You just answered the remaining questions I had for Hector. The three of them stood outside the chain-link fence of the temporary pool and finished their cigarettes. A car passed by, and from the back seat, a teenager yelled an order in their direction. Do a kickflip! Do your homework, Fams responded before turning back to his friends. Was that a cat or a dog, Mr. Fams? Wonder asked. That was an idiot. The sky had changed to the pink and purple colors of dusk. Wonder waved goodbye from her Mercedes and sped off at an illegal speed to the exit. Hector shifted Chromefoot into drive. They stepped out of Chromefoot along the easy hill to Fam's house a few blocks behind Ocean Boulevard. Hector replaced his skate shoes with Hirachis and gave Chromefoot a reassuring pat on the hood. Looking down Fam Street towards the coast, it appeared as if the pavement descended directly into the water. From the street's elevated view, the cruise ships and cargo ships in the harbor multiplied. Hector felt as if the ocean was pulling at him. It was the same feeling he'd always had as a child approaching the coast, when the ocean's force kicked up the butterflies in his stomach. The small Long Beach craftsman was no cooler than Hector's room at the Ocean Green house, but Long Beach had something invaluable that Pasadena did not: cool ocean air. Fams checked emails on his phone as he handed Hector a beer, and they walked into the middle of the street to look out at the harbor. With this new kid, Marco Fuller, we're negotiating for a 2-year contract with some footwear brands this week. There's a bidding thing going on with a few of the bigs, Fams announced as if he and Hector were already in the middle of a conversation about work. Why not longer? Hector asked in an attempt to catch up with the friend's train of thought. Better to get him the opportunity to renegotiate his terms when he's winding into his prime, not when he's possibly past it. Ah, I see, Hector replied. Fams rubbed his head with the pressure of the oncoming negotiations. And this is about money, sure, but it's also better for his mentality and his future. It gives him a timeline and a goal that is close enough to build the momentum, but not so far out, when he'd get too comfortable. 5-year contracts sound really good, but they can allow for a little too much laziness. And if laziness is a factor, it usually sets things up for a rude awakening. Negotiating a new contract after that half-decade passes can be a mess if the given athlete turns into a pile at some point, you know? Makes sense. That's great to hear for you, man. Congratulations on the deal coming together, regardless of which brand he ends up going with. I like my job, but there are lots of folks to look after. Every once in a while I get fried, he smiled looking down the street at the cargo ships in the water. But I get so motivated just knowing skaters and artists have folks like me looking out for them now. Like, can you believe both me and Noah used to negotiate our pay with our sponsors without any advisement? So true, dude. Early 2000s shit, Hector agreed. And you met Cale Jacobs the other night, right? How could I forget, Hector answered dryly. I look at this new kid, Marco, who's so green. He's learning the ropes and he's just beginning to understand how things like developed taste and trick selection matter just as much as talent. Like that Miles Davis quote about the motherfucker doing it, Hector suggested. Exactly, Fams agreed. And then you have Cale Jacobs, who's made these unquantifiable contributions to skateboarding, who stretched our understanding of what can be done on and off the board. It gets tiring with someone as eccentric as Cale. His finances are an absolute mess, but I don't care. I absolutely love this shit. I love knowing that I can look after his business now. In terms of age and personality types, you're really looking after all ends of the spectrum. It's hard to imagine there's any dull moments, especially with Cale Jacobs and his music career. I love it though. I'm lucky to do what I do, but there are some real bozos. They looked out at the water as a small boat sailed by one of the harbor's fake islands. After some silence, Fams looked over to find his friend standing on a high curb for a better view of the cruise ships. Hey, how's it going with the artist, Senora? Hector was quick to oblige. She's cool, dude. Good man, Fams replied. Yeah, we ended up hanging out on Sunday, he said with a feeling of satisfaction. You smash yet? Fams joked before taking a sip of his beer. Good question, Fams, he replied and clinked his cool bottle to Fams's before going on. We're hanging out again this weekend. It's my first month running the house. I definitely gotta be 100% about the residency more than anything, feel me? Sounds like the answer is no, Fams chuckled. That is actually incorrect, dude, Hector answered, shaking his head. Love that, Fams said with a relaxed posture. Me and Noah are so hyped you're back. Seattle looked good on you, but it definitely didn't look great. You're an Angelino, dude. You can't be going 8 months a year with no sunlight. That's some all summer in the day shit, basically. The weirdest thing for me was that for more than half the year, the clouds block out the light so damn much that all hours of the day look the same. Once you go a few weeks without seeing the sun, it gets disorienting. Did you have one of those lights in your room that, mimics the sunlight? I resisted getting one at first because it felt like I was giving into something if I got one. But hell yeah, I got one. I couldn't hang. After sharing a spliff and saying their goodbyes, Hector unlocked the car and paused to breathe the ocean air. He looked out to the water. Catalina's silhouette was resting on the horizon. The port of LA was just a few miles up Ocean Boulevard, filling the sky with an orange glow.